following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventure and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Yo! It's Pipeman, the Wandering Jew. This is our new spinoff podcast because Pipeman is sick and tired of people hating on each other, sick and tired of people being divided. We need to collectively, as humans, create unity and love throughout the world. And I couldn't think of a better guest to bring on that promotes that, who... Okay, he had a show on our station years ago, and we're going to talk a little bit, like very briefly about that, because I have some funny things to talk about there. But he, oh my God, he has captured my heart by going to Israel in the middle of chaos to help the Israelis and the Jews and the fire department and first responders over there in Israel, because they're pretty busy right now. So there's got to be some hero that goes and helps them fight fires and just help in any way he can. And that is Aston Bright. So let's bring him on to the show.
Hello, D. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Oh, what's happening? You know, listen, we've known each other a long time.
Yes, we have.
It started. By the way, I have a trivia question for you right now. Okay. Did you recognize a voice before you came on the show?
No, I didn't recognize it. Was it me?
No, it wasn't you. But the first part of it was you wouldn't recognize because it was my grandkids doing the intro. Okay. And then there was my daughter doing the disclaimer, and she worked at the station when you had the show here. Okay. But then the last part of the intro was Chad.
Chad. Oh man. Okay.
And I've been wanting to change the intro, but I just can't.
You just couldn't bring yourself to do it.
Get rid of Chad off the intro.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, he was around before even the station was around. I don't know if you know, but when I decided to start this network, we were really close friends, Chad and I used to go support his gigs all the time. And I looked at him, and he would literally be playing guitar, singing, and messing with the mixer board the whole performance. And I'm like, that's who I need as my engineer in my station. For real. That's how it happened.
Yeah, and he was great.
And then I vividly remember sitting at the studio table with you one day, and you were going to invite me. Okay, so for everybody that's listening, watching, doesn't know, when I met you, you were the personal assistant to Dennis Rodman. Yes. And you still work with them, but you have gone way in a lot of different better directions, not better, but more directions, and just growing as a person in all the time I've known you. And it's funny back then, because I remember you were really smart, very, very into you're very educated and informed on all things politics, but not like today. Like really educated and somebody you could have a conversation with, and no matter what the viewpoint was, it was a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to always stay up on the different issues and try to do whatever I can to stay involved and to help. And yeah, back then I was doing some work with Dennis. Eventually went on to be one of his managers for many years. And but yeah, I've since returned to the business community, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, and before we get on to the meat and potatoes here, I am gonna say one thing that I remember vividly sitting at that studio table is you invited me to go to one of the Rodman parties,
Okay.
but you warned me. And at the time, I was raising my kids, and you warned me. You're like, but you better be prepared that you're going to be gone from like, I don't know, Thursday till Tuesday, and you're not going to be able to sleep. You're not going to be able to sleep. You better be prepared for that. And I think I said something to you like, oh man, before I had kids, I would have been totally down with that, but I can't leave my kids that long.
Dennis's parties are legendary. Matter of fact, Lionsgate Films is making a movie about Dennis when he left the playoffs, the NBA Finals, and went to Vegas for 48 hours. So it's going to be called 48 Hours in Vegas. There's a feature film that's coming.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's gonna be
cool.
incredible. It's gonna be
And
incredible.
I understand you guys are also, trying to get his number retired in Chicago, which I am a million% for. He is the greatest rebounder ever in the NBA, and he deserves it.
Yeah, there's I'm pretty sure it's a fan that started this campaign with retire91.com. He created a website, and someone sent it to me the other day, and I actually told Dennis about it, and he loves the idea of having his number retired next to Jordan and Pippen and all the other Chicago greats. So we really appreciate the fan that has created that retire91.com to try to help Dennis get his number retired. And I have a great story about how Dennis got in the Hall of Fame, which we can also maybe touch on as well at some point today.
Absolutely, whenever you want. And I do have to say something like, okay, I have to tell everybody, I would vote in a heartbeat if I lived in Plantation, but I am so excited that you are running for council in Plantation because I think we really need more people like you in politics. And because I just think you have so much to offer, and you're such a source of, energy, volunteering, just to me, a hero in that respect. Now, I will say, I have a request.
Sure.
When you win, okay?
Okay.
When you win, the parade for your winning has to be a parade of one wheels.
I'm actually down with that. You know how much I love riding my one wheel. I actually have no problem doing that. And what's even crazier is I have just recently decided that I'm going to get back into skateboarding. So stay tuned to that.
Oh, then we got to do that together. I have 3 skateboards at home. Okay. I have one that it's in my Jeep outside right now. It's with me at all times. That's my trick board. I just got done with doing Welcome to Rockville in Daytona at the Daytona International Speedway. And I was like, hey, will I lose my media credential if I take my skateboard and I ride the wall? Now, of course, that would have probably been one of the stupidest things I ever did anyway, because that wall is insane, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also have a longboard, and check this out. You'll want to know this.
Okay.
I have this thing. It's a stick.
Yeah. I've seen that kind of can almost like a
it's like paddleboarding.
Yeah.
So I use it to practice paddleboarding on land.
Very cool.
And now my newest edition, which now the newest edition of skateboard also combines politics into it, by the way. Okay. Go figure that out. And I'll tell you in a second. But it's a surf skate, which is the newest thing. The trucks are very different. They're made so that when there's no waves, like here in Florida, and you're a surfer, you can surf on your skateboard. That's why it's called a surf skate, because you don't kick, you pump just like you're on a wave, and that gets it going. Gotta check it out. It's pretty wild. And like, it's funny, I've been skateboarding all my life, and when I got this thing, like, I never wear pads, I never wear a helmet. I called up my daughter. I'm like, yeah, I think maybe it's time I get a helmet and pads because this thing is insane. Like I ate crap, okay, and I don't eat crap on my skateboard. It was pretty. So I like it because it's a new challenge, okay. But here's what's funny. I did some research and I bought it from the best surf skate company in the world. Like Carver is pretty popular here in the US, but there's one called Yowie and they're out of Spain. And I bought it. Okay. And I got a factual experience to dispel all myths about tariffs because I bought this thing. It took so long to get to me, like really long. I got it. And after I got it, I was getting like a collection agency calls and text messages. I thought they were scams from FedEx saying I owe them money and and that I have to pay the tariff and I owe them money. I'm like, or I'm not getting the board. That's why I thought it was a scam. I'm like, I already have it. I ignored it. I got a collection letter in my mail. And I literally I literally called them up. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you agreed to a tariff. I'm like, no, otherwise I would have paid it already. It wasn't in my contract to buy. So they were trying to stick me with the tariff. The country wasn't paying it. The company wasn't paying it. I didn't pay it either. Pipeman don't pay no tariff for buying something. You're muted a little there, Aston.
Hello?
Oh, there, you're back.
All right, here we go.
See, I saw your mouth moving, but I'm like, well, maybe he's muted on purpose. But now that you started talking,
It might just be some sort of noise canceling situation.
yeah, so it was probably Zoom. Zoom takes over your thingy, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't play well with others. And we're not on Zoom. So what do you think about that? Okay. From a political standpoint, what is your opinion on tariffs? And what do you think about the fact that me as American is paying the tariff, not the country?
So one of the things I would say is that our economic policy, I think, it is what it is. And some of the changes that have recently been made, obviously the courts have sussed out and have sorted out a lot of those things. And my understanding is that anyone who has been paying tariffs is going to be getting a refund. So it sounds like most of those tariffs have been struck down. It didn't follow the proper procedure for that. But, I will tell you that one of the things that I think is really important is just really taking care of our people, more than anything. And so one of the things that's really important to me and just being in service to others is that I always think that if we put our people first, no matter what you're talking about, whether the federal government, the state government, the local government, if we put our people first, I think that we'll always be ahead and we'll always be better off. So that's really just the position I take. And we're not going to
I love that.
We're not going to always agree on everything, but I think that we can always agree that the people need to always come first.
No doubt. And I'll tell you what I did. I did the total American thing. I called up FedEx. I told them I'm not paying it. Charge the country. and they gave me, they did give me an email. So they said if I email them and said that in an email, I wouldn't have to pay.
Wow.
And so that's what I did. And then he told me the email address and I started laughing. The email address was djt@fedex.com.
Oh, God. That's crazy.
Right?
That's
oh,
crazy.
My God. It's just so funny. But so the bottom line is I love what you're about because it is always about the people. And I think, you know what? We need to really stop just focusing on all the stuff that really is not that important and focus on being the United States of America. There's
a lot of there's a lot of division, mostly on partisan lines. And one of the things I really believe is important is that we don't have to agree on everything to be able to be a community.
Right.
And we're not going to agree on everything. I think that's important to remember. Things have become so hyper partisan now that it's like, oh, this side versus that side. And I don't think it needs to be like that, because one of the things that, and as a person who's traveled to 30 different countries, I can tell you that one of the things that has kept America together is whether you're on the left, right, center, or different, we probably agree on like 75 to 80% of things. And then there's that 15, 20% maybe where there's some disagreement. But the thing that makes us different than a lot of other countries, especially like, say, in certain parts of the Middle East and in Africa, or even in Latin America, is those countries agree on maybe like 2 or 3%, and they have 97% differences, which is why they have revolutions every 15, 20 years, why they have unstable governments and coups and all these problems. And so I always try to remind people that if you think that we have division here, you should see how a lot of other countries are trying to deal with a lot of these issues. And it is like kindergarten compared to some things going on in the Middle East and in Africa and in Latin America and in other parts of the world. So we have a really good thing here. And one of the things I think that I'd like to do is to try to help us to keep this thing going and to make things better and stronger.
I love it, because that is what makes us stronger. And yes, we're going to have differences. And the perfect example of that is my brother. I have a brother that if people don't agree with him, they're uninformed and uneducated. And when he said that the first time to me, I was like, or maybe they just grew up at a different place than you did. Maybe they have a different career than you do. Maybe they have a different upbringing than you do. Maybe there's like, I could give you a million variables of maybe. So maybe you should find out why people vote the way they do or believe the way they do before criticizing them, because maybe they have good reasons for it.
Yeah, you have to, people kind of come as they are, and like you said, it's a lot to do with their background, their experiences, their education level. Everyone comes to the table bringing something of value, and it's not going to always be the same as you, and we're all going to be a little bit different, but that's what makes this country so great, is that we are all different. We bring a little something special and something different. We're a nation of immigrants. So yeah, it's important to remember that. And one of the biggest, I think, mistakes people make is that they take someone's ignorance and they use it as an insult. And ignorance actually is not an insult. It actually just means a lack of knowledge. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. They just a lot of people just don't know what they should know about something. And that's why they feel how they feel, believe what they believe. So I am a person who always will talk. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to anyone. I'm interested to learn from anyone. And whether we agree or disagree, I think that I might be able to teach you something. You may be able to teach me something. And I think that's how we can work together and how we can build something, very, very special. And I think that's very important.
And you know what? I'll tell you, it is so true, because I think the only way to really learn is from people with different points of view than you, because the people with the same you already know that.
Yeah, and I caution people to stay out of echo chambers. If you're in a group of friends or some sort of Facebook group or some sort of Reddit forum, and you're only going to places where everyone violently agrees with you, then you're doing yourself a great disservice. You need to you need to watch MSNBC or whatever they're calling themselves now. You need to watch Fox News. You need to watch CNN. You need to watch News Nation. You need to read and watch a wide range of networks, so then you can decide where you want to land and what you want to believe and what you think is accurate. Because no one on the far left is always right, no one on the far right is always right. It's usually something in the middle. And so if you have good variety of information sources, you're probably going to be getting better information than if you were only watching sources from the left or only watching sources from the right. Then that level of bias, and bias isn't necessarily wrong, but you need to have some variety so you can now sort through all the information, and you can have a good, well-rounded view of what's really going on, as opposed to just in your area where you think everyone's going to agree with you. And that's not how you grow. You've got to have people challenge your ideas and challenge your beliefs, because if not, then you're never going to change. And we have to
No
change.
doubt.
Look at our country. Our country
Yeah.
has changed. We have changed. I mean, over the 250 years, we're about to celebrate the 250th birthday of America.
That blows my mind.
It's incredible. And this country has changed tremendously. And that would have never happened had we all just stuck in our silos and stuck to what it is that we believe. It never would have happened. So I think that that's important to talk to the other side, to have voices that you're listening to from all angles, so you can learn from that.
No doubt. And like, how did that happen? 250 years. It was just yesterday I was celebrating the bicentennial, 5th grade in school.
Amazing.
Like,
It's amazing. No, it's incredible. It's
right?
incredible. Absolutely incredible. 250 years is just, it's amazing. Listen, this is an experiment. It's the first time. This is the first time in history where you had a country where the leaders, the first leader, George Washington, stepped down on his own voluntarily. It had never
Wow. Yeah.
where someone was in charge of a country and voluntarily stepped down. There wasn't a war fought, or he wasn't assassinated or killed to change power. It didn't go to his family. He voluntarily stepped down. It was the first time in human history that that's ever happened. And it's just an amazing thing if you really know and understand history, and like the Roman Empire and all these different empires that have been around. The power has always changed through violence. And this was the first time that never happened. So I think that's very special.
I bet you most people don't even know that. I'm glad you brought that up, for sure.
Yeah, most people don't realize that.
And I have to tell you, like, I consider you a hero for some of the things you do. And most of all, as the Wandering Jew, first of all, I want to say that I think everybody needs to travel, because we live in this bubble sometimes. And I have changed dramatically since I started traveling compared to when I never left the U.S. Sure. And I know people that never even left their street their whole life, and they're clueless of what happened. I don't know if you remember, but one of the people who works with me, Rebel, she runs our Louisiana studio. First time she came to Florida to come to the Florida studio, she was flipping out because there was this big billboard by the airport for free STD testing. And like, she's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, well, would you rather be, and I'm a Yankee, so I had to bust her chops. Would you rather us be like you out there in the bayou and just spreading crap all over the place?
That's funny.
But I also have to say, as Pipeman, the Wandering Jew, my hat is off to you, because, you're captain of the volunteer fire department here in South Florida, in Plantation, but you have gone on several trips to Israel.
Yes.
And like, not because you had to, because you chose to, and excited about it during these times where even Jews are like afraid to go to Israel. So I want to know how that started and why you do it.
One of the most amazing things about the trips I've made to Israel was really highlighted to me by a friend of mine. He's one of the directors of the Israel Fire and Rescue Authority. And he said something to the American delegation that was just there. I just got back from Israel, by the way, about 30 days ago. And one of the things he said is that the United States is the only country that sends firefighters or sends help to Israel when rockets are firing, when they're under attack, when there's a war. And he said that, and it just really stunned me. And this most recent trip was my 6th trip to Israel to fight fire. And I never really thought about it that way, but it just really stunned me when he said that, because it really is quite remarkable when you think about it, that there is a country under attack and at war, and the United States is sending firefighters over there to help this country. When we do, like you said,
That's amazing.
We don't have to go. And the organization that has made all this possible was started in 2008 by a gentleman named Adi Zahavi. It's called the Emergency Volunteers Project. And after the Second Lebanese War, he was a first responder, and he just said, you know what? When there's trouble here in Israel, our resources are consumed very quickly, and maybe we can have some friends from the United States come and help. And that's how we started this organization. And over the last many years, he has also included bringing over physicians and healthcare workers like PTs and EMTs and physical therapists, and also civilians to help with feeding trucks. And so it's just an incredible effort of Americans who have decided, you know what, when our friend and our best ally in the Middle East, Israel's in trouble, we're going to go over there to help them. And it's just really quite extraordinary. One of the most amazing things after the October 7th attacks happened was the EVP website in the US was crashed by over 700 American firefighters who were trying to sign up to go to help.
Wow.
And it's just really extraordinary. And I like to share that because a lot of people, especially Israelis and Jews, they feel very alone right now. And I share that just so they can know and understand how much support that they really do have, not only here in the United States, but around the world.
I love it because, okay, so first of all, when the last Iran conflict happened, Israel-Iran conflict, my son's in the military and he was there with his unit, fighting on the side of Israel. But what was even better, which made me so proud, was his unit was, going to leave, and he requested that he stay behind and fight with the IDF.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he was the last one of his whole unit that ever came back, but he stayed there, and he told me he wanted to fight for the mother country. And then my youngest daughter, she did Birthright in Israel the summer before October 7th.
Wow.
So for those listening that don't know what Birthright is, when you're born a Jew, they have this thing called Birthright that at any time by time you're 30, they even expanded it to 30 recently, you get a free trip to Israel. And then they show you everything, and you're on a kibbutz, and you get to learn the culture, your history, your heritage, because so many people think, oh, Israel's only been around since 1948. No, not even close. Add some thousands of years to that. Okay. So the bottom line is she came back, and it was a very eye-opening experience when she came back, because she was going to school up in the Panhandle where the violent protests were happening. And she had friends that she met in Israel that were taken hostage, or new people or family that were taken hostage. Her kibbutz was bombed, the one she was at, so many stories. And she has to come back to the United States to be afraid to go to school because of the fact of people thinking Israel's the one trying to commit genocide. And
it's outrageous. So here's the thing. This
right.
is something that you don't only see in the Israel situation, but there's a lot of times a very, very loud vocal minority that makes it seem like that's how everyone feels. And that's just absolutely not true. The United States has always supported Israel since 1948, when Ben Gurion announced that the gates of Israel were open in May of 1948. Harry Truman, 12 minutes later, Harry Truman got on the radio and showed support that the United States was going to support Israel. And his Secretary of State and his Secretary of Defense told him not to do it. And he did it anyway. And since that day, the United States has always supported Israel. And we always will. So the loud vocal minority and the kids in the tents on the campuses, they don't represent they don't represent America.
A lot of them you ask and they don't even know where Israel or Palestine is.
They don't even know where Israel is. They don't know anything about it. they think it's like cosplay for them. They're putting on their kefias and they're walking around like they're doing something. And that's not how America feels. It's just not. But
Yeah.
again, this isn't the only area where you find that. A very loud vocal minority can sometimes, because of the algorithm of social media, because of the way that media works, they want clicks, they want eyeballs, can make it seem like that's how people feel, but that's not how the majority of America feels. Because I will tell you this much. People ask me all the time about how I feel about what's going on in the Middle East. I say, listen, first of all, the most important thing you need to understand is just because I go to Israel and I support Israel with the humanitarian work that I do there, just because I'm pro-Israel doesn't mean I'm anti-Palestinian.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I think that's what people don't get too. It doesn't have to be one way or the other all the time with everything.
They don't. And also, I also remind them that Israel's a nation of 10 million people, but there are Muslims, Christians, and Jews who are Israeli citizens. So when I say Israel, I'm talking about everyone in Israel. There are over 2 million Arab Muslims considered to be Arab Israelis is what they're referred to as. But they're citizens of Israel with equal rights, and they have an Israeli passport, and they can vote. They can have any job that they want. And by the way, in the Middle East, these Arab Muslims are the freest in the entire region. So Arab Israelis are the freest Arab Muslims in the Middle East. There's nowhere else in the Middle East where you're going to find Arab Muslims who have more freedom than in Israel, especially for the women. Especially for the women. So we have much more in common with Israel than we do with anyone else. Not that we can't partner with and ally ourselves with other Arab states, Gulf states. We can support many other people, and that's fine. But we are most closely allied with Israel. Number one, they have elections. They have elections. They have the rule of law. They have courts. They have a court system. They have, if you commit crimes, you can be tried and go to prison. In many other parts of the Arab world, that's just not the case. There are no elections. There haven't been elections in Gaza in 20 years. There haven't been elections in Gaza or the West Bank in 20 years. So, and I'm not here to castigate whatever they're doing. I'm here to talk about the humanitarian work that we do, our strength and friendship that we have with Israel, which includes the Muslims, Christians, and Jews who live there. That's everybody. Not to mention the IDF. I have a friend who's a major in the IDF, and he said something to me that I never really thought about. But the IDF is the Israel Defense Forces. That's not the Jewish Defense Forces. It's the Israel Defense Forces. That means everyone in Israel, everyone, Muslims, Christians, Jews, it doesn't matter. And by the way, there are Arab Israelis who serve in the IDF. So it's a very unique country. It's a very diverse country. If you ever go there, there are a lot of Ethiopian Jews who are there. There are Jews, Sephardic Jews, who are descendants of the 800,000 Jews who were expelled from the Arab countries in 1948. There were almost 1 million Jews kicked out of Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Morocco, North Africa, Syria, Lebanon. There were almost 1 million Jews that were kicked out of their homelands, and they all ended up in Israel in 1948. So you have a rainbow of people. So they always are like, oh, Israel's this, white colonizers. I'm like, have you ever been to Israel? There's there's a lot of different. There's not really not that many white people in Israel.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, listen, I would stick out like a sore thumb in Israel.
You would be the odd man out in Israel. So it's a very diverse place. They have all religions can practice there. And that can't always be said at some of their neighbors, So, and then at the end of the day, it's a very tough neighborhood. And they have been in many, many wars, none which they have started. They only have fought defensive wars. They're in a really tough neighborhood. And, sometimes, unfortunately, they got to, kick a little ass sometimes. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I'm a person who doesn't like war. I'm a humanitarian, and I wish for peace in the Middle East. And by my trips to Israel, working as a firefighter there, volunteering with the Israel Fire and Rescue Service, is my way of trying to help to maintain the peace there for everyone who lives there. And I believe that the children in Israel should have peace, and safety, and I believe the Palestinian children should have peace and safety as well. So, like you said, it's not a binary choice. I can hope for peace for the Israelis, and I can hope for peace for the Palestinians.
And I'm going to show some pictures in a second that I want us to I'm going to have you kind of describe the pictures. But what you just said is why I consider you a hero. Okay. Because to me, everything you do is about the human race, not
Absolutely.
any particular race, not any
Absolutely.
particular political thing. Because listen, you know what? People, you cannot like the politicians of Israel. That doesn't mean hate all Israelis.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't have to agree with the leaders of Israel to support Israel. It's just like I don't have to agree with the leaders of the United States to support the United States. It's no different. I'm not going to always agree with everything our government does. Doesn't mean that I hate America. You know, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
this binary choice that people think that they have is just not. It's not good for the country. It raises the political temperature very high. We need to lower the temperature down. We need to make sure that we know and understand these are our friends and neighbors. You know, we have members of our family that may not always agree on politics, and that's okay. You know, that's why there's that rule, you know, no politics at the Thanksgiving table, you know, just
Right. What happened to that when I was a kid? You didn't discuss politics. You didn't discuss religion, and ergo, you didn't get into fights with people. And then, like, you didn't even tell people who you vote for. I remember being told as a kid, don't tell people who you vote for. It's your personal choice. And nowadays, people come up to, who did you vote for? And I'll say, it's none of your freaking business. Speaking of voting, before we go to the pictures, I have to express a story with you because, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I have for several presidential campaigns right now. Pipeman has ran for president. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And first, I want Juan to play our audio commercial of my presidential ad, and I want you to hear it. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you what happened in 2016. Roll it, Juan.
Hey folks, this is Bill Clinton. I listen to W4CY.com. And just remember, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Bring back the good old days, and I will have sexual relations with that woman. Vote Pipeman for Prez.
Now, there's a reason I was playing that for you, because what you're talking about, what happens on social media and everything else, you know, I think we need more people like you that really, really dig in and know your stuff, because in 2016, I had 6 people that were listeners of my show vote for me for president.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You got 6 votes.
I have a joke. It was a joke.
You got 6 votes. That's pretty good.
I know. So I can now say that I got 6 votes for president of the United States of America. God help us all if I get more votes. Okay. But everybody definitely needs to vote for you. That's in Plantation for council, because I think you're going to make amazing changes and do amazing things, because you're all about helping, and that's what public service is.
You know, in the best example of freedom is that everybody gets to decide, you know, what they want to do and who they want to support. You know, that's the ultimate idea of freedom. And I truly believe, as I said at the open of the show, that we've got to put our people first. And one of the things I'm really leaning into is that our residents come first. We're going to take care of our people. We're going to make things more affordable. We're going to make it easier to get things done in the city. We're going to tackle the traffic nightmares. Plantation is booming right now. There was a time just a few years ago, we had tower cranes all over Plantation. We're building, expanding. We're in the center part of the county, of Broward County. So tens of thousands of cars pass through. to get to Sunrise and to Oakland Park and to Tamarack coming from 595. So we have a lot of pass-through traffic that comes through here. And it's just a very vibrant city, which is also why I think one of the most important things I can talk about is public safety, police and fire. So we got to make sure the police department and fire department have everything that they need. So these are some of the things that I'm running on. And I'm really just asking for the voters in Plantation to support me. And I'm going to keep doing the incredible work that our Plantation City Council and our mayor has been doing. And I'm really looking forward to having that opportunity.
And everybody, whether you're in Plantation or not, if you agree with me that Aston is definitely a hero and worth doing public service for us, go to astonbright.com, donate, help out, because as you can tell, this is a man of the people. This is not a man of a party. It is a man of the people.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Yes, anyone who would like to support me or learn a little bit more about me, they can go to astonbright.com, where they can make a donation. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a green card resident. If you are a green card resident, you can still make a donation. And yeah, it's just been, I always love having an opportunity to share my story and to talk about the Emergency Volunteers Project and the amazing volunteers that we have. And by the way, the last time I went to Israel, which, as I said, I just got back about 30 days ago, we had firefighters from California, New York, Maryland, Michigan, Florida, Texas, and Alaska. So
wow.
We had firefighters from all over the country taking time off of work, leaving their families, and going into a war zone. And I think it takes just a really special individual who really believes in helping people. It's the only reason why we do this. I'm a firefighter because I believe in helping others. I've dedicated my life, and becoming a firefighter in 2014 has given me the opportunity to do that. And it's something that is very important to me. And I just really do love being in service to others. And then, of course, I have my business background working for Fortune 500 companies and working in the business and professional world now. It just really gives me an opportunity to take those skills in order to help our city and to help the residents of Plantation, which is what I intend to do. So I'm very excited to be here and to share some time with you and catch up with an old friend and to share my story and see what we can do about getting me onto the city council. November 3rd is the election, by the way.
Oh, we got to get you on there. You are so well-rounded. I'm a total Libra. I love your viewpoints because I see viewpoints on all sides as a Libra. And like you said in the beginning, I don't like the extremes. Put me somewhere in the middle, and I don't have to stick to my guns. It's like I got to do what's right, not what's right or left.
Absolutely. Kitchen table issues. We got to focus on the kitchen table issues. As James Carville very famously said, it's the economy, stupid. We got to focus on those issues. A lot of times we can get distracted with a lot of these other issues that are out there. But at the end of the day, we've got to focus on finding ways. So people, like, imagine today, a young person who just graduated high school, maybe they went to the military, or they started working at a trade, or they went away to college. They finished now their training. They finished the military. They finished their trade school. How are they going to buy a house?
Yeah.
How are they going to buy a house today? The prices are just completely through the roof. The rents are going through the roof. Rents are too high. So it's really difficult for the young people to get started. And then you have folks on the other side of the spectrum, the seniors. A lot of them are no longer working. They're on fixed incomes. So we got to find a way to give some relief and make things more affordable. And I just think that's very, very important. And being focused on a lot of these other issues is not going to help to resolve a lot of those problems. So that's really where I'm focusing a lot of my time on things that are going to help people live better lives. And that's really what I'm focused on.
I love it. I love it. And now going back to Israel, I'll have Juan pull up some pictures of you in action in Israel. And as each one comes up, I kind of want you to describe the picture to the audience. So tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this one was on Yom HaShoah. We were headed to a Holocaust remembrance event. And so I had on my Class A dress uniform. I'm there in the fire station. What most people don't realize is when the EVP deploys us to Israel, we live in the fire stations with the firefighters. So we live there. We're not at a hotel and like we just kind of go on calls every now and again. No, we're living in the fire stations. Wherever they go, we go. When the call comes out, we go out with them, and we're fighting fires from rocket attacks or just even things that don't have anything to do with the war. Because even though there's a war going on, there's still car accidents and someone leaves a pot on the stove. So those calls are still coming in, and so we do the exact same thing anybody else is doing. And so yeah, this was a picture on the day of Yom HaShoah. We're getting ready to go to December. That was actually my first time in Israel on Holocaust Remembrance Day, where they played the siren and then all the cars stop. People get out of their cars and stand at attention for 2 minutes. I mean, it really was just an incredible display of respect, unlike anything I have ever seen, where the whole country comes to a standstill for 2 whole minutes. It's incredible.
Wow. All right. So let's, what else we got here?
This was on scene of an apartment fire. We had just finished fighting a fire in an apartment. There was some sort of electrical issue. And so it was me and a couple of firefighters kind of talking afterwards.
Next one.
Okay, so we were doing some training at one of the training grounds there. That's just me putting on my my air pack and getting my mask situated. So another great question I always get is it different fighting a fire in Israel versus in the United States? And it's not different. A fire is a fire, and it doesn't matter if it's here or it's in Israel. Now the fires there are a little bit different because all their buildings are made out of stone. So whereas opposed to the United States, where our buildings sometimes are made out of wood and made out of other materials that can also burn. So their fires, for the most part, unless it's like a shed or something, are the room and contents fire. So the building itself is not on fire. It's just whatever is in the room. So those fires are actually much more dangerous because it can get a lot hotter in a concrete or a stone structure versus, say, a wooden structure, because at some point the fire will ventilate and it'll start to expel a lot of the heat and gases, which does not happen in the Israel buildings unless a window is vented or something like that. But even then, it's like a brick oven because it's stone. You know, the rooms are stone. So This was a training event with one of the local firefighters kind of getting me rigged up with their gear. And then this was me getting dressed. I think I was getting ready to go on a call, I think. Just putting my gear on, getting ready to go on a call. And I bring my own gear. This is my gear I wear every day. So I brought it with me to the U.S. And I like to thank the airlines because this time I flew on El Al, but I've flown on United. I've flown on I've flown on Delta as well to Israel on my 6 trips. But the airlines will always allow us for our firefighter gear to fly for free, which we appreciate.
Nice.
So shout out to the airlines.
I like the PFD there in Israel. Yeah. You're wearing the plantation proud in Israel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Next one.
All right.
Okay, that's all of them. All right, cool. So everybody that's watching right now, I put a QR code up in the top left. Hit that QR code and you can go not vote, but donate to Aston's campaign. And if you are in Plantation, please vote for Aston, because he, I think, is going to make such amazing, great things happen in Plantation. And it's just going to make it a better place for better humans.
Thank you so much for that, Gene. I really appreciate that. And it's been great to catch up with you and spend some time and tell my story about what's going on. And I think right now with the rise of anti-Semitism, I think it's more important now than ever for us to speak out and speak up.
Yeah.
Because it's not right. And it's very detrimental to the Jewish community. And we have to stand together with our friends in the Jewish community and definitely stand up for them.
I love it, because I love somebody like you saying that, who's not a part of the Jewish community, just more of a ally to the Jewish community. When I have people that are Jews that are being anti-Semitic, it kind of makes me shake my head. Like, come on.
I was saying, like, I'm not Jewish, even though I know I look Jewish, I mean, so we can all still be together. And I think that's important. I think it's really important for the outside community to help. And not for nothing, but the philanthropy that comes from the Jewish community, especially with the Black community. The Black community and Jewish community have always been great allies, and we still are. And I like to go out and talk and remind people of that. Again, the loud vocal minority might make it seem like that's not still the case, but I can assure you that it definitely is.
Yes. Well, I hope you have great things coming on the horizon, and I know you will. Are there any final words you want to leave the listeners with?
The most important thing I can share with you and your listeners about the very important humanitarian work that I'm doing in Israel is that I want everyone in the Jewish community and Israel to know that we're with you, and an attack against Israel is an attack against the United States. We're always going to stand together with you.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your support and being a hero, because I'll tell you what, my hat's off to you. I don't know if I'd want to fight fires. So,
Not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart.
No doubt. And you certainly aren't either. And so thank you for all your service to everybody around the world. That's what I say.
Thank you, Pipeman. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you again and great to catch up, brother.
Great. Thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman, the Wandering Jew.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.